That was Scatterbrain by Jeff Beck. One of the hardest riffs I've ever learned how to play in my life. Fell in love with the song 40 years ago when I was a teenager. And just, like many, deeply saddened by the passing of just such an influential and great guitarist. Meant so much to me and my development as a career guitar player, as well as just millions of others, I'm sure. And so this week's favorite song I taught this week was in honor of Jeff Beck, and our theme is that massive riff known as Scatterbrain, and awesome chord progression that accompanies it. When I found out about his passing yesterday, I was in the middle of lessons, and unfortunately my next two students that came in after I read of his passing were advanced guitar students, a couple of young players that knew the name, were familiar with Jeff in the sense of a little bit, but had maybe heard the iconic "Cause We've Ended As Lovers," one of his signature songs, and knew that he had a career with Rod Stewart, the Yardbirds, and blah blah blah. But they were I immediately shifted gears in my lessons and said, all right guys, this is what we're doing for the day in honor of the legend. Is I'm gonna teach you how to play this song, and it serves as a great warm-up exercise. For just getting the blood pumping and playing some crazy 9/8 riffage. So on to the tune, and here it goes. So we are in 9/8, and the pattern itself is kind of easiest to explain by thinking of it as a 6-note pattern. Our pattern that we're using for this is, which is an F, a G flat, an A flat, a B flat, a C flat technically, and a D flat. So if we think of it as a numerical pattern and we think of 6 notes, this numerical sequence of that pattern, not frets, not fingers, but the numerical sequence, if we just think of it as 6 digits, it's going 1 2 1 2. Then it's going 3 2 3. Then it plays that little sequence up 4 3 4. Then it ascends again 5 4 5. And then when we reach the 6th note, it just comes down the scale 6 5 4 3 2. So once more, and then I'll illustrate. 1 2 1 2. Then go to 3 and go 3 2 3. Then go to 4 and go 4 3 4. Then go to 5 and go 5 4 5. And then go to 6 and descend the scale. 6 5 4 3 2, like so. So let me illustrate that. So if this is 1 2 3 4 5 6, we're going 1 2 1 2 3 2 3 4 3 4 5 4 5 6 5 4 3 2 1 2 1 2 3 2 3 4 5 4 5 6 5 4 3 2, like so. Now, I believe what he's doing on the record and live, or at least the most recent live clip I watched from his Live at Ronnie Scott's DVD series from, mid 2000s or so. He doesn't play it this way. He's up here. And he kind of alters the riff a little bit in that particular live cut. But nonetheless, the original version, it sounds to me like he's playing and sliding when he goes from 5 to 6 and then coming down the scale. And so on. So anyway, that's the sequence. Now, basically what happens is you play that one 4 times. Then you simply move a half step up and play it twice here. Then Then you move up a whole step, so that'd be starting on an A flat or a G sharp, and play it there twice. Then the last sequence, it moves up a minor third. It starts on B, so from G sharp to B, and the sequence stays the same, but the actual steps in the pattern change. Instead of being a half step and a whole step on each string, it's a whole step and a half step. So it's these 6 notes, which is B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, but you're playing the same sequence with this pattern. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. But the second time, it stops 1 note short. It stops on the 3. Let me illustrate that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6, 5, 4, 3. So it gives him just a 16th note jump to do this descending passage where he plays unison bends, which is the 10th fret of the E string, 12th fret of B, 9th fret of B, and 5th fret of B, accompanied with a unison bend on the previous string. So 10 of E, so 13 of B, 12 of B, 14 of G, 9 of B, so 11. That's a lot of numbers. And then 5 and 7. Now musically, what's happening there is that's an E7 arpeggio going backwards. D, B, G sharp, E. All right, so that's it. And so now as we talk about what's going on under that, it's really fascinating. So over the first riff, the first position riff, the first riff, sorry, not first position. He plays that riff 4 times. It's 9/8 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and it's hard to count. But it's just all 16th notes in 9/8 time, a measure of 9/8. So he plays it 4 times. The first 2 times he plays it, the chord progression, the chords under that riff are B flat minor 7. And then the chord moves up a half step to B7. Now these particular voicings I'm using are just ones that I prefer, that I think sound nice. It's a keyboard on the album. You can play it whichever way you want to. B flat minor 7, B flat 7 with traditional, bar chord, shapes or whatever. But nonetheless, the chords are B flat minor 7 for the first 2, B7 for the next 2. So then, after he's played that riff 4 times, when he moves a half step up, the next chord is D over C over this. So that's 2 times, 2 measures, 9/8 with that chord. Then when he moves up to G sharp and plays it here twice, he's playing an E over D chord, which is basically just like the previous chord, it's a dominant 7 chord in 3rd inversion. So we had D over C, which is a D7 chord with the 7th in the bass. Then an E over D, which is an E7 chord with the 7th in the bass. And then last but not least, when we go to this chord, he's playing a G, just a straight G. All right. So anyway, then the descending unison bends. So to talk about that a little bit, what's fascinating when the unison bends happen, what happens there is the bassist is playing a different arpeggio underneath that. The bassist is playing, starting on a G sharp, F, D, B. That's a descending, you could call any of those the root because it's a symmetrical chord. There, it's a diminished seventh chord. All minor thirds going down, 3 frets at a time. Guitar players, 11, 9, 5, 2. You're just jumping every 3 frets. Theoretically speaking, if you put those 2 arpeggios together, what Jeff's playing, and the bass, that spells E, G sharp, B, D, and F. So it's basically a glorified E7 flat 9 chord. Well, it sounds like Nelson from The Simpsons. Anyway, so that being said, if we do a little breakdown of what all that means harmonically when you pair the riffs with the chords, if he's playing B flat minor 7 here and he's starting on an F, over B flat, that's the 5 of B flat, flat 6, flat 7, 1, then a flat 2. Oh, and then we have a flat 3, which makes sense because it's a B flat minor 7 chord. But then the same riff is played over B7. Oh, that's unique. So we have a B, but we're starting on an F note. So we're starting on a tritone, a flat 5 to a 5. So you can basically think of that as a sharp 4. So as that relates to the B7 chord, we have sharp 4, 5, 6. That's a little odd because the chord is B flat 7. But he's playing a major 7, an A sharp there. B, and then a 2. So it's just, all thrown in there with all the speed. You don't really notice the clash of the flat 7 and the major 7. Then, when he goes to the next chord, D over C, kind of makes a little bit more musical sense, I think. Let me think about it. Oh yeah, we're up a half step now. So he's really just playing right out of a D7. So that spells out basically a D mixolydian scale starting on the 3. So that would be, you have D, D is the chord with C in the bass, but you have F sharp, G, A, B, C, the flat 7, and D. And then the same thing here, and he just takes it up a whole step. That's E7, so similar thing, E mixolydian. So you have G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E. Now this one's interesting. Then the last one is over a G major chord, and you're playing this sequence where it shifts to a whole step and a half step on the strings. So what that makes, that's interesting. If we think of G as the root, which it is because that's the chord, that's a G Lydian scale. G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. Pretty intense stuff. Anyway, so rest in peace, Jeff Beck, one of my heroes, and I hope this lesson has helped you decode one of his more difficult songs, and one of the more difficult songs I've ever played in my life. So it's probably a little sloppy, but it is what it is. Have fun with it.